this phone and I just got back. Really good timing. Just put a whole bunch of fruit from smoothies, bros. Okay, so I got a request from Jinju. I think his name was, it came up as Frankie somebody. And he was asking, and I'll go over this tomorrow in detail, but the premise I don't need a partner for, I think it's a good thing to go over now to get my head straight. So he was asking me about footwork and why it is that I switch my feet to deal with distance and timing. Oh, I gotta put no disturb on. Excuse me, guys. I'm still new to this phone streaming stuff. Okay, there we go. So the question was roughly, why is it that when you watch me do free step push hands or sparring, that I shift lead leg position? Okay, and there's a number of reasons for that. And you know, there's the basic Tai Chi model reason, and there's the basic fighting model reasons. Okay, and I was also a freak. You know, and I was mostly ambidextrous as a kid. You know, I was able to write with both hands, but my left hand is more detailed. My right hand is more power. Right, I can swing a bat with both hands. I can throw with both hands. So in Taekwondo, like in karate, my left leg was more finesse and accurate. My right leg was more power. You know what I mean? I can do everything both sides, but some techniques always feel better on one side than the other. Okay, but aside from that, going into the details of why it happens, okay? So for the most part, generally speaking, the opponent leads the fight, okay? So I'm not actually the one doing anything. And even when I'm setting up traps, so sometimes I'll do a switch to set up a trap. So if you watch the karate sparring video, is a perfect example of this, where I know, because he's already done the same timing a couple of times, I know how he's going to set back, so I switch to right leg lead, knowing that after he throws that second technique, I have two options. I'm either going to sidestep to the left hand reverse punch, or I'm going to follow him in and hit with the right hand reverse punch. So it's a trap, right? So I'm thinking three beats ahead of him is really what's happening in that condition. But even still, he still led me to set the trap up by his position. So even if I'm trapping him, he's still leading me into his trap, if that makes sense. Okay, when I say trap or setup, it's more like a boxing terminology. So if you watch that sparring video in slow motion and start to pay attention to why I'm thinking, and you'll see I'll do like subtle steps where I'll just slide this much over. It's to make them uncomfortable to change the angle. There's a movie, Equilibrium, with Christian Bale. You need to watch that movie when they talk about the gun kata, because that's the closest way I can describe to you what goes on in my mind when I'm sparring. I'm looking at everything as lines in my head. I'm seeing this there's basically 6 zones that I'm aiming for with a straight line to come in, right? But it's basically 6 zones that are triangulating into a point. And I'm doing all my setups from that, and I'm reading him from that. So all these shifted positions come from this, right? But now let me break down the Tai Chi modality of why you see me do it in push hands. When you look at the body, let's just say that we're in a sphere, right? When I talk about the Chi model, I do my form, right? There's a sphere inside my dantian, right? There's a sphere inside the rings of my arms and my legs. So I have these little spheres. There's a sphere here, there's a sphere here, there's a sphere under my armpit. There's these little balls, okay, that are all creating this system. And then on the outside, I have another sphere that's encapsulating me. Let's talk about this one sphere as a bubble, okay? I have my bubble, the opponent has his bubble. Most of the time when people are playing push hands or fighting, they come in and these two bubbles are colliding each other and they're trying to pierce through. What I'm trying to do is merge so that when you touch me, my bubble becomes your bubble. Like we become this one big bubble unit, okay? And then there's these waves and circuits, of pressure and variation that are happening. So what's happening is that when I feel there's a force vector coming towards me, I allow that vector to change my position and make space. So in free pushing and in fighting, I don't need, why am I trying to hold, I understand as a game, a training tool, fix that push hands. But in reality, why do I want to claim the space? If he wants the space, he can have it. But he take that at a cost. So when you watch me do, like I say, like a step back and I do the knee check, right? What's happening is I'll step back and check with the other leg. This is another common one. From this angle, you'll see it. There's a force that's about to come in, so I make space, and now I'm checking But in my mind, I already hit him. I'm just holding back in those instances when you see me on the video, right? Because these guys are so much lower level than me, and we're not fighting. I'm not continuing, right? But the theory is the same. It's like there's a wave of force coming, and whether he's touching me or not, if that wave is on one side of my center axis, I just allow it to move my axis. So whether I'm fighting Taekwondo or boxing, and he hasn't reached me yet, and I feel or I get a trigger that he's about to move from this vector, I already feel that. It's almost like, it's like a feeling, where I feel that force is coming before it comes. And I start to react to the idea that he had of moving. I know that sounds weird, okay? But over time, from like small twitches in the shoulder, head movement, he'll do a twitch, and I can feel his potential movement. And that is what forces me to react and change the position, right? So this is in the Tai Chi model. Sometimes when I'm in the hard style fighting, I'll do that to set a trap. Because I'm thinking, okay, his weight's on this leg. Now I'm going to shift to this position because I know either in this set I have this angle open, or it's going to force me 2 moves later to get the opening. It's chess, okay? It really is chess. It's like, you know what I mean? You got to think of the sparring match as a chess game. It's not just we're hitting each other. It's like, you know, that's very low level. After you're playing the game for 10 to 20 years, you know what I'm saying? You played so many matches that you have these setups, like Fianchetto in chess, right? Very basic opens that you just memorize, okay? So that's what tends to happen, okay? So I'm trying to see if I can elaborate more on this concept. But that's really what it comes down to, is that I want to merge his system with mine, and everything he does, because again, normally be 2 bubbles in push hands, right? And our bubbles meet, and then he's here, we're on the surface, and these 2 bubbles are colliding and fighting for pressure, right? And then you bounce them off your bubble. That's merging oil and water. I want my Tai Chi to feel like salt and water. Once you touch me, you've dissolved into my sphere. So it's literally, you are me, okay? I'm gonna try to put this in the jargon of the Chinese terms, you guys. I've attached my yi to his yi at a level where he becomes me, where he's literally me. He thinks and my body moves. I know that sounds crazy, but when you go in Mushin in Zen, right? You go to this blank space in your mind, and your awareness field, the intent of your awareness is just on this connection of the structural state between the 2 opponents, and making it one thing, so that I'm not actually physically reacting to him so much as that he thought something, and his intent has a mirror on my intent. That's normally what's happening, okay? You'll start to see like the added checks, so I'll bring the knee up, because it's so conditioned into me, right? That I'm already set to kick or to block, and I think of it upper gate and lower gate. So when especially when we're in that middle range, sometimes you can't really see his leg. So, and this is another question, how do I advance? This is a very good segue. So there's different ways I advance, but generally speaking, I'm always going to lead with the knee or my heel as I come in, right? Even if I'm coming in side stance, I'm coming in, I'm going to use my heel as a check to keep that line through. But I'm always going to advance by taking up this gate, so I don't have to look at it, right? So when I come in, you'll see, and there's a lot of times in pushing heel, and it's just natural because I don't want to take the chance, because a lot of these times you're playing push-up with random people. I count with several hundred people, and nobody plays the same way, and a lot of times they'll change the rules. Like my friend, really nice guy, Shaolin Mike, right? And I did the last day in Chinatown Wu video, whatever the hell name is. Shaolin Mike gets to feel the Wu. And you'll see, part of it's because I've locked him internally by compressing his joint. He feels like he has nowhere else to go. He had to pull out the backhand, right? But, most people from the outside would probably think, oh, he's being a dick and cheating. But it's not really what it was. It's like his body doesn't know what else to do, and he wants to keep going forward. But the point is, I have to be ready for that, right? I can't get mad at him. So I'm playing the one-arm game he wants to play, and then he throws the backhand, tries to punch me in the stomach. You know what I'm saying? That happens a lot to me, okay? Like, a lot. And I'm always the guy, because I'm always, the stronger, iron body, younger guy in these meetups. So like, you know, and people trust me not to hurt them, so they kind of go at me and they'll break the rules. So I constantly have to keep in a certain state of protecting myself as an algorithmic default. So as I'll approach, I'm taking up the lower gate space with my lead leg, and I do it just as in the form teaches. The form teaches you to step the toe and then place the heel down, right? Yes, I mean, this is a couple of kicks. The toe kick to the knee is a stomp. But just as your entrance, right? When I step in, I'm stepping in on that space. So if you do something sneaky, and let's just say I'm coming in trying to go around that thing, I'm going to kick you in the back knee and take you out, okay? Or I'm going to have the leg up to check it at least, so it's already there, okay? So this is the upper gate, the elbow, and the knee. So when I block, I'm thinking of the elbow and the knee only, okay? This is a vehicle to get to here. So all this is a vehicle to get to here. I want to hit you with my femur. I want to hit you with, you know, the bicep. Okay, basically the same idea. Okay, so that's the idea of the walking in. But that's generally it. If you look at the Tai Chi symbol I've said this before, right? You're looking down from the North Star. Okay, and let's just say the 2D model of Tai Chi symbol for that, make it simple. And you have, you know, the Tai Chi's laying this way. When there is a pressure coming from one angle, right? This side becomes active, linear, and yang. The other side becomes circular, receiving, and yin. One's electric, pushing out, one's magnetic, drawing in. So once he makes that move, let's just say he goes to pressure this way, I create a space and come back on the other side because he's created a vacuum for me to do so. And then you'll see the feet, especially with the one from the Tai Chi day with the guy Mike. Okay, you got the short hair, you know, darker than me, short hair. Okay, I did the, you're for the Mr. Softy music, we did like the Bagua sparring with him, okay? And you'll see me do these checks and steps. That's just the reason I do it. As for, you know, I think I did a good job. I'm gonna go over this tomorrow when Don gets here, and I'll show you how it looks when somebody is actually sitting next to me. But I think that this is a good topic because no one's really asked it. Going from like a free sparring thing, when I'm advancing, I'm still, so there's two methods, right? The majority of the time I'm thinking this way. The other method is crushing, right? And when I'm doing crushing, I'm still using this technique. So for instance, in that sparring video where you see me lead with the lead leg roundhouse side kick, right? To open up with the sparring session, you know what I mean? And the reason you'll see me switch modes because he's shorter, you know, his moves are tight, so obviously I want to keep him at distance. My other friend's about the same size as me and heavier, so I wanted to give him some room to play, right? So, but I'm going to play him as if I'm the shorter guy. You get what I'm saying? So that's why you'll see that difference. But as I'm going into softest entry, right, I check fake him, and I cause him to put his weight down on the foot and lock in. So once I do this check, it's a small move, you're not going to see it until you slow motion the video. Okay, but there's a lot of little feints that I want to do to load his nervous system, okay, to get him to react, because these small micro adjustments cause micro reactions in the opponent, right? And you have to learn how to use that against them. So just this little check like this can cause the person to switch weight distribution and lock them, cause them to be double heavy, okay? When he goes double heavy, right, there's a wave and a lock. So one side will be yang, one side will be yin, there has to be an opening. Okay? You can't defend everything at all times, and you can't defend while you're attacking. You can't attack while you're defending. There's always going to be a hole. Okay? So once I do this thing and he shifts over, that small little flinch that I use to set up and spring off of set him up to be double heavy on that leg. He can't move. So now all I had to do was slide underneath. Does that make sense? So these are like the setups. But the advance is still predicated on his position and lead. If I do this check and he would have led on the other leg, I may not have came with the side kick because he's already ready for it. See what I'm saying? But because I got him to go double heavy, he's locked in. So he's locked in. He has to now, the OR loop is sitting there thinking he has to reposition his balance before he can move. So in that quarter second, he's trying to reposition. To get back to the point, he is the one that chose the target. He is the one that chose where I'm going to slide in and when I'm going to slide in. If that makes sense. I'm always letting them lead, okay? even when with the exception of crushing. Crushing is, I do not care what you're doing, okay? When we're fighting with the karate that I learned, it's a completely different animal. Sparring, even hard contact sparring, is still a training game, okay? And the way you get out of that training game is, there's a couple of things we do, I'm not going to talk about it, but power breaking is one of them, okay? Speed breaking is cool, but power breaking is a whole other animal. Because when you have to break, 3 to 7 inches of 1 inch nominal solid pine shelving, okay? Not this fake karate shit, but probably the whole actual wood shelving like they did in the old days, like we use. There's a different thing that goes on in your mind, okay? And it's like this is an inanimate object that there's nothing there. There's no outside threat. It's just you have to will yourself and lock it in and just get it all done. And that translation is what really does make the difference, because when you have this accuracy from the traditional sparring game, plus this mind switch from high-level power breaking, when you go and fight someone and that switch goes off, where it's like, okay, now I'm allowed to hurt this guy. The consciousness knows. You're going through. It doesn't matter what he does. You just become this wave of you just feel like this hot ball of shit, and you're just going. That's the only way I can describe it to you guys. All right. So, that's the only exception, was when you go into that. And Jing Yi's very good at this. So for Chinese style, let's say Jing Yi has this understanding where they're just gonna go and say, I don't care what you're doing. I'm coming in. Okay. So that's a different mentality, and classical karate, the way I learned it, is a hard, soft system, okay? It's external with internal elements, okay, that are powering the system. It's not what people think it is, at least the traditional that I learned, okay? So that's really the issue. I think I went through all that stuff. As for closing distance, look at the 8 gates defense and attacking by triangulation video. Just have to retry. I don't know if it's okay. So look at the 8 gates defense and attacking by triangulation video. Because that's basically the only stepping angles that I'll use over and over and over again. Okay, and I mean this, if you watch Equilibrium, that is how I look at it in my head. It's a really quick little white lines grid. And I actually, it's just a thing. I just see these little grid lines. Okay? And it's, even if he doesn't give me an opening, I'll use asking force, right? Where I'll go to an angle he's not comfortable, trying to get 2 on top outside. I said this in another video. So, whenever possible, I want to have 2 hands on top on the outside. Okay, inside 1 hand, obviously 2 hands on top, inside 1 hand on top, 1 hand under. The last one is 2 hands underneath. This is preferential in order how I go about setting up. So when I do my asking step, right, I set it up so that I'm going to attempt to put myself in a position where within 1 or 2 moves max, I have a 2 hands on top outside position when I can get it. Okay. If I come into the center entry inside, I'm immediately going to take the center and try to crush through the center because the hole's open, right? It's like a funnel of a river. So I'm just going to follow that through, and then once he tries to displace me, so he gets 2 hands out top, I try to do that trap and pass and get outside or to displace with the step. Okay? So these are very simple algorithms that you just kind of get over time. But I actually set time and train these things. So I would drill where we have the bag set up, and I would practice these steps and entries over and over again. Step enter like this, step enter like this, sidekick exits, like things like these little steps, traps, so that they're programmed in, so that when they move, I have that set up already. But again, everything is always led by the opponent's position, and even my setup to ask him for a trap is still set up on his position. So if I do like that double outside step, where it's like I'll shift it, it looks like nothing. But I go like this, when you're on the other end facing me, it feels completely different. Kicks that you think are very visible on the outside, when you're in front of me, they're not the same. Okay? It's not the same angle, it's not the same position, the timing of it's different, it just comes at you. Okay? And it comes at you from the same angle. So these, my bitch was saying that he could see, you're not getting it. So there's little things that happen that from the outside, and anybody who fights knows this, there's things that you'll see in the fight recording, but when you're in front of the guy, it don't look like that. It doesn't look like that, it's completely different, you know? So, for example, like that, we're sparring or we're playing push hands, and from here, you're going in to push this elbow. I can roll and just immediately hit you, but sometimes it's better just to make the space and let him come in because I want the game to keep going on. So a lot of times that's why I'm doing it. I explained this in the Don video. I have my ring, his ring, and there's a ring in the middle. So it's my center, his center, and center of center. And generally speaking, when I'm playing with most people, I'm only going to go to the bridge toll booth. So it's either I'm at my toll booth or his toll booth. If it's very low level, I'll play at my toll booth, and I'll even let them touch me. They're middle level, I come out to the second gate, right? And then I want to, play with them. I'll go and I'll play to their chest. So when I'll touch them, and my power is ending at the skin, okay? When I want to even push them, I'm still, because they're friendly, I'm just going to touch the skin, and I'm just going to give them a wave and send them out. When I want to hit them and hurt them, I now go past their island, right? So I'm just going to run through it. And that's why you'll see a lot of these things that look like that. Because if I took this extra step, and I use back step, on this forward step that you see in the push hands video, where I just take the space, I do a lower gate check and take the space, in real life, it would be smashes, knee incoming, okay? Because I'm going to crush through him. Remember, what you're seeing are examples of exchanges that are friendly and for a game. The idea is that when you're really going to hurt somebody, there's not going to be this drawn out thing, there's no rules, okay? So as soon as he makes that move and I take that space, he's done. He's done, because I've already can look at the circle. He goes to push a punch, and I make the space. I'm already hitting him. He's already hit, because he made the move. So, all right, I'll wrap that up. I think that's a good example. Tomorrow, I'm going to keep going over this. If it's a really good suggestion, I appreciate you. Okay, and that's basically that. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, 1 p.m.-ish, depending on when he's able to get through traffic. Keep your questions coming. Okay, this one, luckily, I didn't really need his partner, but I'm going to do tomorrow anyway. All right, man. See you guys tomorrow. Peace.